All right, welcome into another episode of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Bob Ryan, and we're joined by, you try to be objective, Bob, when you do this job, right? You try, but sometimes you just can't be objective, and that's how I am with TJ McConnell. Absolutely, that's how I am. I'll admit it. We're both Arizona Wildcats. One did a little bit more to help the Arizona program than the other, but listen. I'll go back to maybe my favorite story involving TJ McConnell, Bob. And he had graduated from Arizona. And I don't know if he even remembers this, but he graduated and he called me maybe, 2 weeks after. TJ, I don't know if you remember this at all. And you asked me, you said, hey, do you think I can play in the league? Like, do you think I can play in the league? And I said, hell yeah. Like at the time, Matthew Dellavedova was playing like 30 minutes for Cleveland in the playoffs. And I said that to you. I said, listen, you're not the same player. We know that. But absolutely, you can play in the league because you're an elite defender. You're tough as shit, and you're going to get better shooting the basketball. And now, TJ McConnell, you are, going to go into year 7 in the NBA now?
That is correct.
Yeah. And the best part is the first game TJ played, Bob, was where? In the Garden in Boston.
Yeah, it did not go well. I'll tell you that much, though.
But you know what? I don't know if it mattered. You were so happy when I walked in the locker room, the smile on your face that you're on an NBA team, playing for an NBA team that day was like, I don't think it mattered to you whether you played well or not. You were on a team. It's a hell of a story, TJ. It's a hell of a story. And again, I'm not objective. I'm not afraid to say that. You know what I think of you as a person. You know what I think of you as how hard you've worked, and you just got to get paid now. You got to get paid.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a waiting game right now, honestly. Just trying to work out and spend some much needed time with my 5-month-old son and my wife. Because the season's a grind. So just spending some necessary time with them and trying to, work my butt off and just enjoy life.
I have to ask you, as a basketball person, I assume you watched the game last night. Yep. Just your impression. We could go any number of different directions about stuff to talk about, individual stuff. The half hour it took to play 2 minutes, the 5 reviews. But what was your personal takeaway and impression of that game and the ending?
Well, I had the opportunity to play for Monty Williams. He was an assistant coach in Philly for my last year. And you just knew when he took that Suns job that he was going to really turn that place around. Now, did I think they were going to go to the Western Conference Finals in his second year? No. But, I mean, the respect that he commands in the locker room, the way he treats his players, if you see the way they play, they like playing for him. And he's taken that Suns team and just he's completely elevated them. And you got to give James Jones credit. He built a nice team with them, and they're learning how to win. And it's great to see. I really like watching them play.
As a fan, TJ, are you like some of the rest of us of like, I'm not tired of seeing LeBron at all, or some of these other guys that have been in there every year, but it's refreshing to see some of the young guys, whether it is DeAndre Ayton, your Arizona alum, whether it is Devin Booker and what he's able to do, or even like a kid like Terrence Mann going off for the Clippers. I don't know. I feel it's refreshing to see some new faces, Giannis, Trae Young. I think it's fun.
No, I completely agree. I was just talking to JJ Redick about this yesterday, and there's this parity in the league that like LeBron or the Warriors or whatever, they were in the finals like every year, and I'm with you. Like, obviously, it's great to see LeBron's greatness in the playoffs and in the finals, but to have the 4 teams left that they haven't won a ring, 2 of them never, and the other 2 for a very long time. I think it's great for the league, and it's fun to watch, in my opinion.
I got to ask you about a guy that was very prominent in the game and had his team won would have been, cited as such. What is it like to play against Patrick Beverley?
I feel like Patrick Beverley is one of the best competitors in the NBA. I mean, his energy is contagious, and people feed off that, and it gets his team going. I really respect the way he plays because I try to play that way. Yeah. And I just love what he brings to the table for his team and does all the dirty work that doesn't really necessarily show up on a stat sheet. And that's great. So every team needs a player like that.
So I remember as a Celtic person, if you will, of watching you and Philly, I said, he's a pain in the ass. And I meant seriously. I mean, I love your game. I remember you from Arizona, but I said, Phil, he's a pain in the ass, but not to the degree that Beverley is. He's in the class. He's the gold standard of pain in the ass, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I would say he's probably the biggest pain in the ass in the league, and I'm saying that as a compliment. But
me too.
Yeah, but I feel like when you're playing the way he plays, the way I play, just getting under people's skin and bothering them and throwing them off their game, that's an underrated thing to do. If you can get someone to, get 3 early fouls or throw up bad shots. I mean, that he does a good job of that, and he really helps his team.
And then he threw in a little cherry in the sundae. He made some threes.
100%.
He and Rondo kept them alive when they just wouldn't, we like to say, they wouldn't go away. They wouldn't let it, Phoenix to get out of sight. The biggest deficit was 9, and then the fourth quarter was, but they made those threes. Those guys, those two kept them alive to give them a chance to win. But when he's adding on, and same with Rondo, when Rondo's making threes in addition to what he already does, they're really a threat.
Oh, absolutely. Those two guys are, just the ultimate competitors, and they step up in big moments. They're not afraid of taking those shots in the big moments. No. And that's why they're out there. And that's why, their names are as big as they are, because they have showed time and time again that they're not afraid of the moment. I mean, Rondo, what he's done in the playoffs these last few years and throughout his career is nothing short of remarkable. He's been tremendous.
TJ, who's your pick to win it all now? I mean, obviously you look at, Clippers without Kawhi down 2-0. You got the Hawks Milwaukee series starting up. I said Milwaukee last week. Why? I just felt like they were the healthiest team. And I feel like this year it's just kind of a war of attrition. Like whoever's going to be healthiest is going to have the best shot. Now, again, Phoenix gets Chris Paul back. They'll be healthy when it matters and likely get to the NBA Finals unless something crazy happens. But I just felt like even though Milwaukee has some warts, right? And Giannis, the hard part right now is it's hard to put the ball in his hands at the end of a game because of his free throw shooting. But they got a reliable number 2 who's more than willing and capable to step up when you put it in his hands. So I like Milwaukee. Who do you like right now?
So that's a tough question for me because I do like Milwaukee as well, but I played for Nate McMillan last year, and I'm a really big fan of his. I'm a fan of Nate. I'm a fan of Monty. It would cool to see those two go up against each other in the finals. But I don't know. I feel like people are kind of writing off the Clippers because no Kawhi, but I feel like every series has started out this way for them. They lose 2 on the road and everyone kind of writes them off, and then here they come right back. So I don't really have an answer for you because, I feel like the Clippers could very well even up this series. Paul George is playing at a big time level.
We have to get to your fellow Wildcat. I have a category, TJ, for bigs. I call them UB, useful big. If you're a useful big, that's the minimum standard. And I think he's been that. Now he's in the new category, PDG, pretty damn good, and he's on his way to F good. I mean, that he really is coming out before the world's eyes. I mean, and elevating his game. That one sequence last night, when he blocked the shot, made a miraculous save. Went down the other end of the court and in traffic made the alley-oop, and then came back and made the back tap on the rebound for the basket. All that within a minute. I'm thinking Jeff Van Gundy must have been going apoplectically out of his mind because he couldn't say anything about it. They were talking to the sideline reporter.
Yeah.
Not that she doesn't doing her job. And I'm thinking, Jeff, were you thinking about it? Van Gundy must be going nuts because he wants to talk about what he's just seeing, which is a phenomenal stretch of basketball. Anyway, I've been on the soapbox. Ayton, what's your impression of Ayton?
I have been a fan of him, ever since his Arizona days, obviously. And I feel like with young guys, people forget when they come in. How old is he? 20, 21?
He's not 23 yet. He's 22.
Yeah, 22. Like
he was 19, 20.
They think he should come in and just dominate right away. And like sometimes with young players, it takes them a year or two to find themselves. And he really looks like the game is just slowing down for him, and he's finding his way, doing what his team needs him to do, and just playing on both ends. It's really impressive to see the growth that he's gone from year one to now.
Hi guys, Cedric Maxwell here. I want to take a minute to tell you about Marigold Medical. I'm used to keeping my body in great shape, but with arthritis, even the most simple everyday tasks became unbearable. As soon as I called Marigold Medical, I knew I was in good hands. No drugs, no surgery, just an experienced team of caring professionals that wanted to get me back to doing the things I love. Make the call to Marigold Medical and get back to pain-free life.
All right, let's go back to your career a little bit. I want to start with your rookie year and what it was like. I mean, you're on a Sixers team and the process and all that. You win 10 games. But again, you're probably like, I'm just happy to be in the league, right? I mean, was that still, even though you guys were getting your ass handed to you almost on an given every night, were you still upbeat because of that? Because you were playing in the league, going up against great players?
I mean, you can look at it both ways. I was obviously happy and ecstatic that I was in the NBA, but I kind of looked at myself and I'm like, kind of get your shit together. Like, if you are just like ecstatic to be here, that's you're going to be gone soon. So I wasn't satisfied with just being there. I was hungry to get better, learn more. And the losing was hard. Obviously my record in college at Arizona was, I think it was like 64-8. And to lose that many, 72 games in 1 year, it was tough, but I feel like I played a ton of minutes and got valuable experience in that year.
Bob?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind go right to a teammate that you had that is a great source of controversy in the league right now is Ben Simmons. And just, I don't know where you want to start with it, but I mean, is he taking unfair criticism for, is there just enormous piling on, implying that he's the problem or a problem? Or, how do you see this whole thing with Ben and the free throws and the shooting?
Yeah, I feel like he just has to go up to the free throw line and shoot him with confidence. I've seen him go up there and shoot him with confidence. So it's not like he's never done it before. I personally believe that he's taking unfair criticism because people are focusing on one thing. Does he have to shoot more? Probably so, but he was coming into the league. He wasn't I don't know if people were expecting him to average 25 points per game. Like, he does a bit of everything, in my opinion. And I think people are starting to forget that. Like, he had 13 assists, and me personally thought that he should have been nothing against Rudy Gobert, but I think Ben Simmons should have been a defensive player of the year. I mean, he guards 1 through 5. And in that game, he forced Trae Young to, I think, 5 for 23. So if you're getting your team, he has 13 assists where he can do that on a nightly basis because he has elite vision and he's guarding 1 through 5. I mean, yeah, it was he didn't take enough shots, but he's doing his job.
I've said this, TJ, and I know you got to be careful how you respond to it, but I've said, I feel like even Brett Brown and the Sixers management, all the way down to the coaching staff, years ago should have said, hey, you know what, Ben, every regular season game, we want you to take 3 threes or you're not playing next game. Like they had to do And I don't know how you do that. I'm not sure. I know Brett Brown came out publicly and said he wanted Ben to shoot more from three, this and that. And some of it falls on Ben, but I feel like some of it falls on everybody here because in order to get better, you've got to do it during games. How much did you see him shoot threes in practice? Because when I was there for plenty of shoot arounds and whatnot of you guys when you came into Boston, you'd see him shooting threes. He just doesn't do it in games. Do you know why?
I mean, me personally, I've seen him work on his three after every practice, after every shoot around. But to your point, what you saying, like he's not playing next game, he is just entirely too valuable to keep off the floor.
I get it. Yeah.
From the moment, he came into the league, our team won, I think, 48 to 50 games in his first 2 seasons. And that's without him having to shoot. I mean, I think people put, this unfair pressure on him that he has to shoot a ton of threes. He has to shoot these shots, but he's getting guys wide open shots. He's guarding people 1 through 5. He's getting out in transition and dunking the ball. I feel like in the open floor, he's probably one of the hardest guys to guard in the NBA. And to me, I think he does his job at a really high level.
You grew up in a basketball family, clearly. Dad was a noted coach. We talked to him. We made reference to Aunt Susie, a great player. Tell the rest of us who didn't grow up in that kind of an atmosphere what it was like, and did you take it for granted? Did you realize there was another life out there that people weren't growing up in basketball families? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best way I can put it is all of us had a ball in our hands since we could probably walk. We were in gymnasiums playing. My dad has been a high school coach for 28 years. And from when I can remember, I've been going to his practices every single day, from when I was little to when I graduated high school and stuff like that. But it was just basketball. And you say that there's another life out there, but basketball is life for us. And that's how it's always going to be. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Great. All right, TJ, give me your favorite, craziest Joel Embiid story. Because JoJo is a character. Like I first met him at Kansas and that personality is off the charts. I know it may rub some people the wrong way. I actually loved how much he played through pain in the series. And I don't think he got enough credit for that, with a torn, meniscus or whatever it was playing. And I thought the one thing about him in that series, there weren't a lot of smiles. Like it was a different Joel that you saw in that series. It was like all business, not talking crap, just, again, just playing hard. It was probably because he was in so much pain too, but he understood the magnitude of it. Give me kind of what it's like to be a teammate of JoJo and also maybe your funniest or most memorable story.
I mean, playing alongside him was incredible. He empowers his teammates so much and gives them so much confidence. But like to witness his greatness on a nightly basis it's remarkable. The stuff that he does, you shouldn't be able to do at his size. And to your point saying, there wasn't a lot of smiles. He just looked extra motivated to kind of will his team to the next round. Obviously they came up short, but he was remarkable in the series. And this, I think me pretty well. I'm a competitor. And he was illegal screening me in a pickup game. I think this was like my second year. This was going into his first year. And he was setting illegal screens. And I told him, setting another illegal screen, you're not going to like what happens next. Like I'm going to do anything. Like that's just me, like thinking that I'm going to do something to mess with Joel. And he set another one. And for some reason, I don't know why I tried to do this. I tried to pick him up and I could only lift up like half of his leg. And I said, this isn't going to end well for me. And he goes, it's all right, little guy. And I've never felt less of a human being than at that point.
Joel's, listen, he's a riot. I mean, he is. I remember being there for one of your again, one of your shoot arounds. And after the shoot around, he's playing like soccer with the basketball or something, like kicking. Did he do that all the time? And like ridiculous. It's almost like the ball's like hacky sack and he's jumping around, like he is just so incredibly talented for his size at like anything he wants to do.
No, he's incredibly skilled. He picks up anything and he's good at it. He's one of those type guys. And, I've seen him play soccer, like up close and personal. He's always talking about soccer and then kicking the basketball around. It's like you see him just like juggling it with his feet, his legs, and like heading it. It's unbelievable, how skilled he is.
You play with two of my favorite players. One that I know Jeff gets tired of me talking about.
I love him.
Oh, God, I know. No, I'm only kidding. We both love him. And I'm a huge fan of his father as well. And that's where it all started. Mr. Sabonis, who had an amazing end to the season that went completely overlooked by the national media. What a month he had.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Domas. He just does everything. He is our Swiss Army knife. He rebounds, he passes the ball, he scores, he sets good screens. I've never seen a guy that does so much for his team and not get the recognition. I know he was an all-star, but I feel like he needs to be talked about more. He does everything for our team.
He's the hardest playing big man that I ever saw in college, TJ. I can honestly say that. I've never seen anybody play harder. And then I saw him at a Celtics workout, and he had never shot at Gonzaga. Like, they didn't allow him to shoot from the perimeter. And I think he made 65 of 100 threes at the Celtics workout. And I went up to him and I was like, whoa, like, I'm impressed. And he looked at me. He's like, no, that was horrible. Like, I'm way better 3-point shooter than that. And I was shocked, but he is. The dude just plays so hard. Like, you guys had a really good team this past year, I think, on paper. Obviously, everybody had their injuries, right? You have Miles. Karras didn't come, obviously coming back from what he came from, it was going to take time. Did you feel that way? Did you feel like almost like the what if game? If we had been healthy all year, what we could have done?
Yeah, I'm not like a big moral victory type guy. Like, what if this, what if that? But if we're just talking about the truth, we never really played with a full team. The moment we did, it would be for 1 or 2 games. A guy would go down. You lose one of your best scorers in TJ Warren for the entire year. And we just had to have that next man up mentality. And then obviously we trade Victor and didn't have Karras for a little bit. Lose Miles toward the end. Malcolm was out for a couple of weeks. I just feel like none of us could never get a rhythm with each other because of the injuries that we had. But, that happens sometimes, and we're not going to make excuses. We got to play better. And, it is what it is.
You mentioned Malcolm. That's my other guy that I am. And I met him actually at a function in his senior year and became aware of his incredible off the court accomplishments and what an interesting person he is. But meanwhile, he averaged 21 points a game this year when a lot of people weren't looking.
No, honestly, like I said about Sabonis, Malcolm is not talked about enough either. His ability to score when we ask him to. He never takes a bad shot, and I feel like that's if your point guard isn't taking bad shots, you always give your team a chance to win. And he's getting people the ball, and he's a really, really good defender, really good. And to piggyback off what you said about his off the court stuff, he's a great teammate, all this stuff, great locker room guy, but he's just a great person, with the stuff that he does with his foundation and the way he treats people. I consider him a great friend, and it's a joy and an honor to play with alongside of him and to call him a friend.
All right. So since we're both here in Boston, we can't let you go without getting your reaction to, because I know what you thought of and what you do think of Brad Stevens, the coach. It shocked the heck out of all of us here. Not that Danny Ainge stepped down, but that Brad Stevens went from coaching to GM, and that Brad Stevens will not be coaching basketball this year is just absolutely shocking to me. You know, again, you're in Indiana, so there is a little bit of a tie with Brad Stevens, who grew up in the area, who you've coached, you played against many times. How surprised were you when you heard the news?
I mean, I was shocked. You know, like you said, I think you know how I feel about him. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NBA, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. It kind of stinks for the game that he's not going to be coaching. You know, but I'm happy for him in his new role and wish him nothing but the best. And but I thought he was one of the great coaches in our league, and just a smart basketball mind, and good guy. I've talked to him a little bit, and like I said, wish him nothing but the best. And obviously Danny had an awesome career, have a lot of respect for him, and wish him and his family nothing but the best as well.
TJ, you've gone through the whole athletic experience in basketball, high school, AAU, college, transferring college for a reason of competition, as I'm aware. You wanted to see a chance to get a chance to win a national championship. No offense to Duquesne, right? And etc. All right, you know what's going on in the world with all this controversy about college and image and likeness. How do you see, you know, what's your feeling? You've gone through it. How do you observe this whole phenomenon of what's going on now with college sports, college basketball specifically?
You know, it kind of stinks, because I feel like I grew up watching college basketball, you know, the NCAA tournament and all that stuff. And, you know, I don't know enough about it. I try not to, once I left, I tried not to pay attention to it. So I can't really comment on it. You know, I don't want to say anything that's wrong, but, you know, I love college sports. You know, I grew up, like I said, watching the tournament, going to the NCAA tournament, and I just want that to continue for a long time. And that's really all I have to say. It's I don't really know too much about it.
I'm going to totally shift gears. What was the toughest place to play in the Pac-10 for you? Pac-12, Pac-100, wherever in that league. What was the toughest visiting gym?
Let me think here. You know, we wanted a lot of places in the Pac-12. You know, I would say because of the rivalry at Arizona State, it's when we come to town, it's a really tough place to play. The crowd's hostile, and it was. I think we lost both times I went there, and it's a great rivalry.
Disappointing. How do you lose twice to Arizona? Come on, TJ.
I knew you were going to have something to say about that, Jeff. I just absolutely knew it.
Let me one more question about the league. Did they still have the springy floor at Roscoe Maples Pavilion at Stanford, or did you play on a normal surface, as far as you know?
Honestly, I can't remember, but the fact that you said that, I want to say someone talked about that. You know, I'm not much of an athlete when I go out there, so I can't really tell much of a difference in the type of floor. I don't really jump off the floor that high, so I couldn't really tell.
All right, it was because it was very nice. I went there a couple of times, and it really was the phenomenon. And people at that time all talked about it. I just wondered. I'm just throwing these things out there. And
Absolutely.
One more question. What's the trip to Pullman, Washington like?
Honestly, we would stay in Spokane, where Gonzaga is, and we would drive to Pullman on the day of the game, and it was a lot of open fields. I'll tell you that.
The Palouse. It's called the Palouse.
Yeah, it was a lot of open fields and kind of a boring drive. Nothing against that university, but a lot of open fields.
All right, so TJ, you being an elite defender, tell me what you think of these new rules on non-basketball moves. I mean, Bob spanned the decades of covering the league and how different it is now from years ago. And I actually want, after you answer that, I want to find out Bob Ryan's greatest defensive player he's ever seen. But first, like, What are your thoughts as a guy who likes to get up in dudes? And again, there's a lot of bailout offensive calls here, a ton of them. How much do you think this is going to change the NBA?
I could talk about this for a while. Like you said, I like to pressure people, and it makes the game, there's more points. I think that's what everybody wants, is more points, more scoring. And, when you're chasing over a guy over a screen and he stops in a dime and you're going full speed, you have to stop or it's a foul. I just don't really think that's a basketball play. I don't think it should be a foul, because what are we supposed to do? Not chase him over the screen and then he stops, and but you can look at it both ways. It puts the ref in a tough place, and they have to make the call. So you can look at it both ways.
Do you think it's going to, all these rules, do you think it's actually going to impact the game, or are you more in a wait and see mode to see how the refs actually officiate these?
Yeah, I would like to see how they're going to officiate it, and kind of go from there. I mean, I feel like there's point of emphasis each year, and obviously they're going to take a look at this stuff, and that's the first step. So kind of just wait and see and kind of go from there.
Best player you've ever guarded is who? Who's the toughest guy that, again, for better or worse, you go up against, you're excited, but you're like, man, I don't want to deal with this dude.
I mean, there's all the obvious ones out there. But I've said this numerous times. My rookie year, Isaiah Thomas, when he was with the Celtics, I've never felt more helpless guarding someone. And it was like one of those things where, like, Brad kind of sniffed blood in the water and was like, he scored on me on one play, and the next 5 possessions down, run it again and run it again, run it again, run it again. And I think he scored on or assisted on all 5 of those. And I had a long walk back to the bench, and I was like, wow, that was very humbling what just happened to me.
Who's the best player, Bob, you've ever seen? Best defender?
All right, we have to take all the big shot blocking centers and put them on the side. That's a whole other category. In fact, I don't even think that they should be eligible for defensive player of the year, much like pitchers shouldn't be eligible for MVP. They have Cy Young. They should have a big guy shot blocking player of the year. Okay. Dennis Rodman was, in the discussion. Draymond Green is in the discussion. All right. But let me tell you somebody that, in my experience with the Celtics, that would be so perfect in today's game in so many ways. He guarded it's 6'8.5". He guarded everybody from 7'3" and 7'4", could switch off on any guard of his time at any time, and busted his ass 48 minutes or however minutes out there. Dave Cowens was an amazingly underrated defensive player. Oh, TJ, you would have so loved, any of you guys would have so loved seeing this guy and playing with this guy. You talk about effort, but I mean, so there's some examples right there. But I just really believe that defensive player of the year, blocks and shot, that's a category. That's we're talking about guys who can guard a variety of people and all. And so there's some of the names that come to mind.
And I agree with you. And again, I'm a big fan of Rudy Gobert. But like I said before, Ben Simmons has guarded 1 through 5 the entire year. And that's just so impressive to me. If you're able to guard 1 through 5, it puts you at such an advantage and helps your team so much. And there's a guy that I feel like isn't talked about enough in the defensive player of the year discussion, and it's Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He is honestly one of the best defenders I've ever seen. And I talked about this again with JJ Redick yesterday on his podcast. And, I don't have Kyrie's handle. I don't have Steph's handle, not even close. But guys just don't take the ball off me very often. And he's done it numerous times, and he makes it look effortless. And he does it to a lot of people. I just don't think he gets the credit he deserves in the defensive end.
Well, listen, we appreciate you stopping by, TJ. Really do. And I don't know if you remember that phone call, but I'll never forget it coming from you after you graduated. And, to me, I'll also never forget walking in that locker room and seeing you in Boston and seeing the smile. And I know free agency is coming for you here soon. I don't know how nervous you are, or maybe excited because you're hopefully going to get paid and you've established yourself in the league as one of the best backup point guards. I know you give me shit still for saying that, Markelle Fultz, they should have drafted Markelle Fultz because you were starting at that point, but you know what I think.
He's a dear friend of mine, by the way, and he's great. And Bob, that wouldn't be the first time that, in college, Jeff would always say I'm not a top point guard in the NCAA, and I'm just giving him a hard time right now. But you guys are great, and thanks for having me on and to talk about free agency. Last time I didn't know what to expect, so I was waiting by my phone, stressing out. I'm going to take a nice little vacation right before free agency and kind of just relax my mind, clear my mind, and just get away and spend time with my family.
Well, if you want to come to 617, I'll pick you up at the airport. Okay, that's a deal.
I appreciate that. I might take you up on that.
Listen, take care of the 5-month-old, change some diapers, help your wife, because, Lord knows you don't do enough of it during the season. So now's the time. Pick up the slack a little bit.
I'm a hands-on dad, just so you know.
I do know that. I do know that from Doug McDermott. So I'm well aware. And again, enjoy fatherhood, enjoy free agency, and we'll talk to you soon. But good luck and enjoy the offseason.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Thanks, TJ.